Mic check, mic check, mic check, mic check. Talk about it.
Check, 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 check. Check lav mic. This is a little mic check for the lav. This is a little mic check for the lav. Alright, I think we're good. I love this song. was saying earlier, we're going to get started soon. Find a comfortable place to practice. Maybe that place is in your bedroom or your living room or your kitchen or your car. Maybe you're listening to your own playlist in the background. Maybe you're rocking to our playlist. I just wanted to say I see you out there tuning in on YouTube. If you're having trouble with YouTube, you can go to @_slowdanger_ on Instagram, and you can watch the Instagram live feed on Anna's Instagram as well. Both platforms seem to have decent audio from what people have said. Sit tight. Find a comfortable place to prepare yourself. We'll get started soon. We are live on Instagram as well as YouTube. You can tune in on our YouTube channel, which is Slow Danger. There's also a link in the Facebook event page to that stream. We're also live on Instagram at @_slowdanger_. Any platform's good. Let's move together.
Hello. How are y'all? Thanks for tuning in. We're live. We're going to be teaching a 1-hour movement practice. There is a version with better audio that is on Taylor's Instagram link in bio. So if you go to @slowdanger_, we've had problems with some lag on that one, but there's a little bit more clearer audio via the mic that I have in my hand. Yeah. If you will be practicing with us, just a little background on this practice. It's called Slow Danger Physical Integration. Taylor and myself have been teaching it for the past 4 years. It's an open level practice, which means that whatever we offer verbally, please take your own agency in this practice in terms of pain, in terms of ability, in terms of space that you have available. This really is for you to get out of the headspace of quarantine or use this to process that headspace a little bit more. We will try to get our heart rate up. We'll mobilize our joints. We'll also use our imagination and vision creatively. And again, if you want to tune in via Taylor's link in bio at @slowdanger_, the audio is a little bit better. And we're just gonna get started. So wherever you are, taking a moment to tune into the surroundings. Maybe just take a pace in the space that you will be in for the next hour or so. And in this pace, you can start to use your eyes to just notice how close or far things are. I totally can't kick my leg here, or I'm gonna knock over a vase and it'll be a disaster. Or this is a good area to do some expansive movement, or I really like looking out the window. So just starting to touch base with your sensory inputs in the space around you and the layers of it. Where are the sounds coming? Where do you hear the sound most of my voice? Where do you get a nice crossfade layer of maybe the outside and the inside? What floor texture feels the best? So just really just taking this pace almost kind of like a walking thermometer, kind of measuring the space around you, and also just as a little kind of mantra. It can be a bit of a wander too. It doesn't have to be like, I know where I'm going. Letting it be a little drifty. And in this drift, just feeling a soft light or a little pocket of air growing in your solar plexus. Feeling how you can charge that space with your breath. You can charge that space with each inhale and each exhale. Just keeping the feet moving, kind of like you're talking to yourself.
Perhaps you don't have enough space to take this walk, but let's find, be it a walk, maybe it's a soft sway or a soft rock. Let's let this constant state of motion be our onboarding for our practice together, our entry to our body, the weight of our parts, all the sensory inputs that we have, taking in some sight, taking in some sound, smelling and tasting the air around you. Let's stay in motion for a bit longer. Maybe it's a soft nod of the head. Maybe you are pacing in your home or in your porch or studio. Maybe you are rocking in a lower to the floor posture. But just using this as a settling and arrival to our bodies.
And let's narrow the wandering a little bit. Just having it be a bit of a rock between the feet. And maybe also a shifting of facing. Still remembering that breath charging the solar plexus, keeping that space open and soft.
In this rock, sense with your kinesthetic awareness the signals in your body that tell you how things feel and where things are. Sense with this whatever is in contact with the floor. If it's your feet, bottom of your feet, really sense the flesh of your feet squishing and releasing. If it's your bottom or your back, whatever's in contact with the floor and in this rocking place, just sense that skin or that bony landmark in that contact.
Now let's narrow this even more. So keeping the feet glued to the ground and feeling how we can move that rock into different parts of the body. Shifting the weight on the feet and shifting the weight in the body through the joints. Feeling how the gravity acts on the body and how we can succumb to it, but also how we can float up against it. Feeling that especially in the roof of the mouth. Feeling that in each inhale. Feeling your diaphragm reflecting the roof of the mouth. Your pelvis reflecting the diaphragm. And the soles of your feet reflecting the pelvis. Just keep going, maybe speeding it up just a little bit, finding a little bit of a groove with it. And maybe a little bit of a rhythm with your breath. Maybe it's 2 for an inhale, 2 for an exhale. And then slowing it down like you're passing into slow motion. As you slow it down, can you feel that direction of the feet into the ground, but also that direction of the roof of the head, the roof of the diaphragm, the pelvis, and the domes of the feet. Starting to find a little churning in the waist. Like you want to make some peanut butter or orange juice in the diaphragm, in the soft part of the belly.
Let's cook a little bit with this churning in the chest. Whatever intensity feels good for you. But if you feel available in it, turn the intensity up just a little bit, like you're really churning some butter or churning through some molasses or something thick. Letting this really be born in the chest, in the heart cave. There might be echoes of other parts like the shoulder or the pelvis, but let's let it live really in that chest. Just a little bit longer, really imagining the thickness of whatever you're churning through. Not that we need to tense our chest or tense our muscles, but feel a sense of thickness to the quality that we're moving. Now let's send that churning that is living in our chest down into our pelvis now. Doesn't mean that the chest won't echo and move, but let's let it really live in the pelvis first. This might invite some folds and unfolds in the legs. This might bring a sense of effort to the legs. Yeah, if you're feeling up for it, get a little lower in your legs and try churning through that pelvis. You might feel a little burn or a little sensation in the legs. Just a little bit longer. These early parts, it's nice to let a little heat grow in the body to prepare us for a practice. A little bit longer, living with that churning in the pelvis. And let's allow the churning now to spread and be able to be articulated through the entire body. Maybe it's traveling from chest to pelvis or through arm and into skull. Just ushering ourselves into a kind of curvilinear, very curvy, carvy way of moving.
Like you're carving out little scoops in the air around you.
Using different bony landmarks, like our elbows or our forehead or our chin, and different patches of skin to carve through this space, like the flesh of our thigh or the flesh of our back. But let's carve through this air for a bit longer. This feels kind of nice. Almost like there's a thick fog or smoke around us that we're carving through. Whatever space you're working with, sense these edges. How far can you reach in the space that you're in? How far is your body able to go right now?
Feeling how you're kind of pushing at the edges of your body here, but softly, in a beginning practice sort of way. Let's actually bend a little bit more into our legs, bending a little bit more into our feet. Still keeping the memory of that sway alive, even as we expand, even as we push the bone into the flesh, even as we scoop out of the air. Starting to feel how we can have little collapses into that space, maybe little weights grow in our body within the scooping, like a weight in the shoulder, a weight in the knee, or a weight in the hand.
A moment of sink and rise. Still sensing that skin carving through that substance as we now play a bit with our planes of space. How low we're getting to the ground. Finding perhaps, as Anna said, places that we can bear a little bit of weight.
Coming closer to the ground, the ceiling lowering. Focusing more on where those collapses, those weights are in your body specifically. Coming closer.
Allowing that ceiling to get even lower, diminishing the space around you until you reach the bottom.
When you find the bottom, taking a moment to sense the breath passing through the body, filling up the inhale to the top and emptying out the breath all the way with your exhale.
Each breath allowing you to sink further, almost as if we're spreading and pooling or puddling.
Letting go in the jaw, the throat, in the belly, in the pelvis. Letting go behind the eyes and letting them rest in their sockets. Letting the body create the cavity. Letting gravity deepen the cavities of your body, the joint space, the shoulder, the hip, the occipital lobe meeting the skull, the clavicles. Feeling where if it were to rain on top of you right now, where the water would pool on your body.
The places that it would trickle down, the little valleys of our form that it would run through.
Taking this next breath into the belly, expanding it large, doming it out, and then letting the exhale soften that part. 2 more big belly breaths into the belly and out, feeling the pool created as you exhale. Starting to feel really, really tiny motion in the cavities of the body. Maybe it's imperceptible. Just feeling how you can push into or find small mobilizations in the joint spaces.
Listening to those quiet vibrations, those quiet sensations inside that come out through this small motion, almost as if we're slowly building our fire again.
If we were to imagine the impression our body was leaving in the ground, it's as if we're kind of nuzzling into that impression and deepening it. If you've ever kind of buried your legs in the sand and noticed kind of how your legs indent that surface and how you can kind of deepen that indentation with your body. Kind of sensing that in these tiny mobilizations, how they can be delicate. And starting to feel a little bit of lava in the front of our body, or a little bit of rippling through these mobilizations. Kind of how we can ripple through the spine, and that creates these little bubbles in the front of the body.
As if we're turning up the frequency just a hair on these subtle motions, allowing them to be a little more visible on the outside, starting to slosh these vibrations, this lava, into different chambers of our body, allowing for subtle motion to brew tiny micro rotations, tiny folds and unfolds, tiny reaches or stretches and releases, letting it grow.
Still keeping the ceiling really low, but how can you shift in these indentations? How can you find another indentation to mobilize, to ripple, to roll, to smolder in? Maybe even smearing a bit.
I'm reminded of that imprint that Anna spoke of, how we're changing it, knocking down the walls of it, creating new imprints and new little sand castles.
Feeling how you can push parts into the floor to lever other bits. Finding the edges of your body. Finding the edges of your feet, your forearms, your heels, your ribs, your pelvis. And shifting a little bit more rapidly now, whatever that means to you.
Imagining that our ceiling is going a bit higher now, giving us a little bit more space to expand this study. Feeling that you can emerge into more of these rotations and folds. These traversions, rolling across parts, letting parts slide or glide along the floor, letting parts be pulled off the ground and placed back down.
Feeling the sprouting of limbs, how they grow into the floor and lift your body away. We're going to take a little bit of time on these forelimbs. If you can, finding a little kind of four-legged creature and feeling how you can push or rock the weight into different points of the body. Kind of how we were rocking between our feet now, as if we had 4 feet. Challenging yourself a little bit if you want. You can lift those knees off the ground and feel the same sensation.
If it's available to you, inviting a sense of rigor or effort with this, what might be like a plank.
And let's find a bit of a circle in this rocking.
Trying to stay in motion in the circularity. Feeling the support, one hand to one foot, both feet, other hand, other foot. Let's go the other. If you feel like you're going one direction, now go the other direction. Just a bit longer to let the heat, there might be some tremors, there might be some flexions of parts. Keeping the breath active here.
Starting to walk the feet in. Still feeling how you can rock between those 4 points. Even if you're hanging and in a folded position, if this is intense for your back or for your hamstrings, bending the knees a little. starting to feel the serpent spine within this. How we rock between those 4 points, but it sloshes this snake that lives inside of our body. Starting to use this to roll up, to float up to the sky, and to float back down on your own time as this beat comes into our practice, letting it carry us. Maybe you're floating back down by curling, but let's try a little bit of flat backing up with this serpentine spine, folding over the legs.
Imagining that spine as a serpent, moving and undulating through.
And imagining your arms as wings on that serpent.
Allow more parts to echo from this serpent spine, meaning that what's coming out of that snake spine can ripple out of other parts, through the arms, through the legs. Letting it carry you through space.
Starting to slop it up a little bit. Maybe like find a little more weight in your body, a little bit more kind of throwing.
A little more of the ripple and toss and throw as this kind of groovy beat is relentlessly sticking with us. Let's let this ripple kind of jam out a bit. Whatever that means to you.
Can you find more diagonal crossing in this? And incorporating a little bit of bounce in the legs now.
Have a little fun with it if you'd like. Feeling that it doesn't have to be too precious or we don't have to create interest or create choreography. Just a nice little groovy bounce. Maybe it comes out in little jagged distortions or little quakey quakes. Or maybe it's a little smoother, a little more wavy. Let's really just groove out for a little bit. Here we go. Having a little fun in the club that is your house or your backyard, wherever you're at. Inviting any feelings of joy that might come out of this, or pleasure. Let's have fun with it. If you're with another, maybe you share a little groovy time. Let's find a little shimmy or a little vibration in our body, letting our flesh shake a bit.
Keeping the feet on the ground and just put it in the ass, in the butt. And now shifting it into the belly, into the chest. Now shifting it into the shoulders. Into the elbows and hands. Now back to the feet. A little bit of hot feet here. A little bit of like fake tap dancing. Into the knees. Into the hips. Into the torso, like you're one of those Those blow up
little car dealership.
car dealership.
Balls. So a little bit longer. Letting this groove kind of ripple out of your body. And let's keep the groove alive, but let's imagine that we're just turning the volume down a bit. But we're still trying to hear it. We're still trying to feel the groove. But we're going to turn the volume down just a touch more and just a touch more. So that it's this kind of cool, quiet groove.
Kind of putting a little oil on it. It's making it a little slippery. A little bit more slimy. But turning up your perception of that sensation, just because we're quieting doesn't mean that we're quieting our sensation. How can we turn it down and up at the same time? There's so many ways we can liquefy. Liquefying the joint space of the head and neck. And as we turn it down, just paying attention to a little bit of spiraling through the upper spine. Putting that sway in the upper body. And seeing how your eyes can direct it or they can ride it. Directing or riding. We're going to widen our stance a little bit to do a little bit more of that spinal work. Just finding a little circle now with the whole torso.
A little bit of around the world here. Letting the head release when it needs to.
In reverse. And sinking, just letting the head drape over the legs. Feeling a weight coming out of the tail on the top of the head. And then rolling the spine up. Keeping the legs bent. Drop the pelvis 2 inches. Feeling the door of life in your lower back opening. The solar plexus charging. Dropping. Taking our arms up above our heads. And considering these arms like 2 snakes now, where the rest of our body is solid, we can snake these arms around us.
Let's activate those arms. Imagining that the snake of that arm starts deeper inside of our chest. We're stabilizing in a lot of our body, and some of the carriage of it, but let's really work through the movement of these arms.
Feeling the wringing out that we can have, the spiraling through the forearms and the wrists. Still keeping the lower body stable. If you need an imagery help, think about hugging a tree with your 2 legs.
Keep articulating those arms through that space around us.
And then we're gonna continue to sink into the legs. Sinking a little lower, we're going to come up and kind of open the pelvis like we're drawing and quartering ourselves. Drawing back in and down.
Kind of like a budding and a blooming. A couple more.
Feeling an opening in the front of the pelvis. Kind of like that pelvis wants to keep opening and opening. And then just shaking those legs out, finding a little like internal, external rotation in those legs. Kind of riding this easy groove with it. If you can, those little, I don't even know what these are called. You learn them in character class. We're just going to place a little bit more emphasis now on the feet. Feeling how the toes can grow and the heels can kind of lift on and off the ground. Feeling a spreading in the toes and the feet. And feeling how you can also massage the air around you with the feet. Almost feeling like you want to scoop with the heel chunks. Taking this into a one-legged study where you can, if you want, you can just keep the heel on the ground, but you can play between kind of bending and lifting the heel from scooping the heel away from the sits bone. And letting the arms be responsive.
Spending a nice durational period on one leg, allowing for the functionality of that leg to be tested a bit through some deeper bends and perhaps some deeper spirals. When you feel ready to shift, just stay, if you can, just a second or two longer. And then taking a nice shift onto that other leg or other surface or other part that you're doing this kind of one support study on.
Really thinking about that heel bone, reaching long, lengthening. Because I often find that when we extend the ankle, we can feel this kind of crushing in the back of our ankle. How do we feel like growth? Maybe it's harder on one side.
A little bit longer on this new side. When you feel that urge to shift, just stay for another breath, another moment.
Softening the butt, softening the lower back. Nice, and just kicking out those legs. Spending time on one leg, kick to the front.
Like you're trying to shake
side.
some water off or some goo off your leg. Really
To the back.
shaking off the substance off of that leg. Feeling
To
the
the
flesh
side.
of your leg move around.
To the front. Switch.
Releasing any
Side.
negative tension or negative
Back.
thoughts through this shake.
Side. Front. Let's find one arm. Just tracing the edge of a large circle. What's the widest edge? What's the widest? And we're gonna draw a spiral now, incrementally narrowing the periphery of that circle.
Envision in your mind and with your senses that there's a spiral in front of you. It's getting smaller as we're creating this spiral, as if we're generating it in front of our very eyes. Even smaller and smaller. How subtle, how small can you move your limb in a circular fashion? Even smaller, almost until it feels like you're not moving anymore. When you feel like you've hit that place where you can no longer move, just sit with the arm for a moment. Imagine that spiral going off into eternity, and then cut the string. Feel that arm heavy by your side. Feel the weight of the arm. Still see the spiral in front of you. And let's find that other arm, or that other limb, however we're articulating these circles and these filters.
Are you building a portal?
Are you digging a tunnel to a new dimension? Are you playing a song with this circle? Are you telling a story? Or are you just circling your arm? It can be anything. Let's let that spiral keep going. Our circle is going to get us smaller and smaller until we feel like we can no longer move it in a circular fashion. Even smaller, even smaller.
How is your focus changing between that expansive gesture and the more narrow gesture?
Until you hit this place of what might look like stillness or idle, but you're still sensing the energy moving out of your arm, out of your hand and into that funnel. And then cut the string. Sense the weight of the arms. Sense the different feelings, the burn maybe, or the tingle.
Sensing your legs drilling into the ground. We're going to reinitiate in the opposite direction. And if you don't remember which direction you went, that's fine.
Allow the other... Our arm is kind of singing the solo of this circular song, but let's allow the rest of the band, the rest of the body to be involved too. Feeling that the legs will move, feeling that the torso... We've done this a little bit before, so let's play with it even more. Feeling that our arm is just an extension of something that's coming from inside of us. And let's tunnel and 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 tunnel until it's just cut the string. Release any tension that you're holding in other parts of your body. As Anna said, thinking of drilling those feet down into the earth, down into the core of the planet. And let's find that other side now. If you don't remember what direction it was, it doesn't matter. But let's let the song of this arm now be radiated and sung out of these other parts, these other chambers now. Allowing the chest to echo, allowing the pelvis to echo, the head. Tunneling our circle even further, further and further, further and further and further and further. And cut that string.
Now we're going to take that into our eye gaze, into the fifth limb, into how far can we send our gaze?
Really try to see different details of the room or the space that you're in as you're moving through this around the world. Trying to catch a speck on the floor, catch a picture on the wall. And like we did with the arm, letting our circle get a little smaller. You might feel a little dizzy or lightheaded, and just allow yourself to breathe and to calm your senses down. Let that circle get even smaller. What do you see? What are you looking at? Initiating into the other direction now. Again, trying to see the details of the space around you. Or even your own body. I try to look at my foot or my feet as I pass through. I try to see the space behind me or around me. Letting it get smaller as each circle passes. Like a spiral or a cone.
enjoying this moment of stillness to be with your breath. Now let's imagine, like when we were making an imprint earlier, we were laying in the sand. Hannah was talking about covering our parts in sand and revealing them. Let's imagine that sand is on the floor again, and that we can use our feet along the floor to kind of push little mountains of that sand around. It doesn't mean that we neglect the space around us. We're imagining sand on the floor. Let's imagine also this kind of balmy air around us so that we can usher other parts of our form. But really drag and skate that sand around, maybe even flicking.
If you want, you can imagine that there's kind of a lead weight on your foot. And you kind of drag it off the ground unless you put more effort into it.
Allowing this drag to send you through moments of plie and under and over arc. As Anna said, allowing the legs to kind of move through space and the air to be kind of increase the study a bit.
In addition to this, you can also find a bit of a seam in between the legs, how you can kind of have a magnet in between your two legs. Kind of like they're drawn to each other. When you flick them away, they're still drawn to each other. That force still exists. Can we find that in other parts of the body? Maybe in the armpit, maybe in the chin. These kinds of magnetic pulls. How that allows for ease and space holding because it creates a relationship between points.
And let's play now as we look at these little moments of space hold with points. Let's expand this a bit into examining different crystallizations. When Anna and I talk about crystallizations, we talk about a space hold or a freeze frame or a stillness in our form. And then we can use this skating of the sand, these magnetic seam legs to transition us through. Playing a bit with the arc of our body here. Anna and I have been talking a lot about the monumental body and just investigating what that means to us. Creating new monuments, creating new landscapes. And how do we emerge and depart and arrive from one to the next? Or how subtle can the change be? Like a soft rotation. Or a complete change. As our sound cycle, our song changes over, let's keep carving through these crystallizations and mobilizations.
Considering the micro and the macro, the fingertips, and the floor can also be a magnetized surface. The base of the foot. Opening this up to exploring those micro and macros on your own. The shoulders as earrings.
As we move into the last few sound cycles of our time together, I'm going to turn the music up a bit. Continuing to investigate these crystallizations and mobilizations now. Opening up your own curiosity, thinking of all the different filters and qualities that Anna and I have thrown out there, and just having a bit of investigation and a jam with those.
Still remembering the breath and how it's passing through the body. Maybe playing with stopping yourself in unexpected places. As you do that, noticing how you can use the magnets of your body to stabilize you.
If you can hear the music at home, or you're listening to your own, find a little jam session with these many images. A little dance for yourself.
Allowing yourself to bring a little bit of sloppiness into it again, a little bit of weight. And now allowing for the weight to be shifted into different parts of your body. So starting to layer all these concepts. Magnets, the sway, the circling, the carving, the groove, the weight, the tiny movements, the macro movements.
Let's go a bit longer with investigating the macro and the micro of these filters. In our session, work a lot with preparation and more filter and qualitative work. We also enjoy kind of compositional or improvisational exchange, where we both just kind of jam out, work through different draftings and redraftings of our movement and our expression. Let's have that time together here now. You'll surprise yourself or test yourself a bit. Enjoying this unreleased track to kind of rock with.
celebrating how you can strike the air with your body. Kind of like the air around you is a drum that you're knocking with different parts of your body. Ride this out with a little bit of groove again. Allowing ourselves to remember and forget simultaneously. Just letting the groove take over.
Letting the groove kind of burn off a bit as the sound goes away.
Starting to amplify everything in our hands and fingers and wrists. Almost like there's so much we have left to say. There's so much we have left to say. And I'm trying to get it in all in this time. Allowing yourself to reference action, household action, any sort of action you've performed with your hands that you've ever known. Letting it become smaller now. Coming to our 2 feet, letting our hands trace down our hips. And as we have our hands tracing down our thighs, starting to roll down through the spine.
Enjoying a nice, luxurious roll down through your spine. When you get to the bottom, you can bend the knees a little bit or do anything else that feels comfortable. Just let your head be heavy, as if you're pouring a waterfall out of your head. Taking some nice breaths, breathing into the back of our body. And when you're ready, finding more of a bend and rolling that spine back up. Letting the head be the last to arrive. And if you want, you can send the eyes up to the ceiling or the roof or the sky before letting it return to a place of alignment.
Allowing your hands to rest on your rib cage, right where they meet the solar plexus, and just sending 3 long breaths into that space. Feeling how the ribs create room for the rise and fall of the lungs and the diaphragm. Feeling it in the back of you as well.
We want to thank everyone that tuned in with us. I want to thank Anna for being in facilitation with me, and a big thanks to the space upstairs for hosting us. It's a very strange time for everybody, and Anna and I have been trying to navigate what this time means for us now and in the future. And having this virtual practice together has really, really warmed us and really shown us that what we do can live beyond how we knew it once, and that it can be a new perspective.
All of the practices that we've shared over the past week are archived on our YouTube. If you ever want to go back and revisit anything, or if you caught a fragmented version of this practice, if it's available to you, we are accepting donations through Venmo at slowdanger, paypal.me/slowdanger, and also a tax-deductible donation is available through the link in my bio.
And we'll leave, as Anna said, though, the 3 sessions we've had virtually archived on our YouTube, at least for a little while. And feel free to go back and visit them and use them again. There's also a bunch of music videos and other performance videos on that channel from kind of our history of Slow Danger. But yeah, we just want to thank you all for being here with us. I think we lost the video, but
Yeah.
much love.
Bye. Stay safe. Stay hydrated. Stay mobile. And we'll talk to you soon.
Those of us on YouTube, thank you for being patient with us. I know there was a lot of stop and start, but enjoy the rest of your day.